Hello and welcome back to my channel, even though I haven't been posting in a very long time. Anyway, I am here because it's the beginning of May. It's May 2nd, and I am going to do a May TBR to try to read down my physical TBR list, which this bowl is full of all the books on my physical TBR, which is a little bit horrifying. We're not going to talk about it. We're just going to take it as it is and start reading. Yes. So I've come up with a very simple TBR game, which is going to involve a D8 and a stack of cards with prompts on them. Let me find my D8. Sorry, there it is. First, we're going to draw one of the physical TBR book strips because I need to start reading these books and I need to start reading these books. So first, draw a book from here. This is all my books. This is fiction, nonfiction, poetry, literally everything that I have on my physical shelves or in the house. Not necessarily on shelves because life. Anyway, after that I will roll the D8, and that will tell me how many prompts I am going to choose out of this stack of prompts that I have made from these journaling cards, which is another hobby that I have not been doing very much of. So I'm using them for something, finally. So in these prompts, there are things like, well, these are all the same. Nonfiction science, or read a book with a red cover, or a horror book, or whatever. But then also we have these ones that say pull. Pull, there are 8 of those in here out of 25 cards or so. Here's Jasper. He wants to be in the video apparently. So pull cards mean I will pull a physical TBR book from my bowl of physical TBR books. The rule for the cards is I have to read something that's on my TBR list that I already own. I cannot buy a new book except for the new release prompt, which there's only one of those. So if I get new release, then I'm allowed to buy the new release book that I'm going to read. If I read all the books that I pull for the month, then I will get to go buy a new book. That's my success incentive. I get to buy a new book. And that could be from a bookstore, that could be from the thrift store. I'm considering any physical book to be a new book that I buy, preferably not from Amazon. And then also my failure, because if I roll a 8 on my D8, that's a lot of books. And that's a lot of pressure. So anyway, if I don't read all of them, then I lose and I have to pull an extra book for my physical TBR for the next month. So let's hope that does not happen. I guess I better be reading a lot. So first off, we're going to pull. Now I now have Jasper in my arms. Or not. Okay. We're going to mix these up. Mix, and drop a billion of them. Okay. They were all folded, but now they're all coming unfolded because I've been mixing them. All right, so first book on my May TBR. I can't even read that. Mermaids in Paradise. Okay, this is one that I got from McKay's, which is a used bookstore. There are 5 locations in Tennessee and North Carolina. This one I got from the Mebane location because that's the closest one to me. And this is a book where mermaids are discovered, I think somewhere in Florida, and something about a couple. I don't know all the details of it. So, yeah, Mermaids in Paradise is about mermaids. So that's going to be my first physical TBR book that I read this month. Okay, now we have Phoebe. I am so sorry. This is Phoebe. Now, we're going to roll the D8. All right, we're rolling. Excuse the mess on my desk. Where'd it go? 7. Thank you, Phoebe. Thank you. Thank you. We got a 7. Because of course we did. All right, let me put the dice away so it doesn't run away. And then I'll have to use a D10 next time. Watch me. Okay. All right, so we're pulling 7 of our prompt cards. I'm going to mixy, cut, and pull. Happiness is on the back of it, so let's see. Oh, it's a pull. So, all right, so. Not looking. I have one. This one is, oh, Grace and Henry's Holiday Movie Marathon. Oh, I thought I dropped one. Oh, no, that one's just hanging out. Okay, so Grace and Henry's Holiday Movie Marathon is a book I got from the Aardvark book club. And it is about Grace and Henry. I believe they've both lost their partner, and they both love holiday movies. And so they start watching the holiday movies together. I assume it's a romance. I assume they end up together. I don't know. But, yeah, so great. That's a good one. All right, mixy again. Cut and pull. Oh, this is not good. Lowest rated on Goodreads. I am not excited about this one. All right. Lowest rated on Goodreads. I'll have to look that up. All right. Book 3. We're mixy. I'm just going to pull the top one. It says, I Love Us. And it is red cover. Pull 4. Book 4. That we are reading for, or that I am reading. You don't have to read these. That I am reading for May. Let's see. Then we're going to cut and take the top. That is Nature. A nature book. Now, when I wrote that down, I decided it could be either fiction or nonfiction, as long as it has some kind of nature element in it. All right, so that is 4 out of 7 books. Well, 4 out of 7 pulls that we are doing from the card deck. So mixy, mix, cut. I'm gonna take the one on the bottom this time. Pull. All right. So I'm gonna get my handy dandy bowl. I'm gonna go for this one. Oh, Guillotine Poems. This is a book I recently picked up at the thrift store because I'm doing the Herkyed challenge, which is the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. And one of the prompts that I'm doing is it's for the Herkyed 1's, your favorite Herkyed 1 prompt, which is find 3 books at yard sales. I chose to do it at a thrift store because I don't really go to yard sales and read those 3 books. So Guillotine is one of those books that I got from the thrift store for that challenge specific. We have 2 more pools, 2 more books to pick. Cut and pull. Oh, sports or hobbies. And again, this can be nonfiction or fiction. I wrote down sports originally, and then I realized I probably don't have any books about sports. So, hobbies, sports or hobbies. So I'll have to find something that is sports or hobbies. All right. Well, that gets us 6 books. Well, that's 7 books technically. But we're on our last card pool. My last card pull, and I'm just mixing them up again, and I'm going to pull the top one, and it is, oh, it's very dark. Pool. All right. Well, we pulled 3 of the 8 pool cards. I'm going to go for the bottom. I'm going to hold it like this because I don't want to spill things everywhere. Okay. And it is Her Fearful Symmetry. This one's by Audrey Niffenegger, and I don't know a lot about it. I just know that it is her second book, the one after Time Traveler's Wife. And it's set in London, and it's something about ghosts, maybe? I don't know. All right, I'm getting set up here so I can look at Goodreads and figure out what my lowest rated book is, what my nature book is going to be, sports and hobbies, and red cover. Lowest rated is going to be the easiest to figure out. And then I have my want to read list, or my want to read bookshelf, which is one of the exclusive ones that is automatically made for you on Goodreads. That is where I keep all the books that I own, that are all the books that I own that I have not read yet. So, my first book up is, well, my lowest rated book is a 2.66, which is quite low, and scares me. It's called Death Takes Me by Cristina Rivera Garza. And I think this is one about a woman who starts taking revenge. When a professor named Cristina Rivera Garza stumbles upon the corpse of a man in a dark alley, she finds a stark warning scrawled on the brick wall beside the body, written in coral nail. Beware of me, my love. Beware of the silent woman in the desert. After reporting the crime to the police, the professor becomes the lead informant of the case, led by a detective with a newfound obsession with poetry and a long list of failures on her back. But what has the professor really seen? As more bodies of men are found across the city, the detective tries to decipher the meaning of the poems, and they are facing a darker stream of violence spreading throughout the city. This talks about slippery worlds of Latin American poetry and art. So I'm assuming it's not set in Spain, but it's set in Mexico City. All right. Death Takes Me. That one is a Kindle book. That's my lowest rated on Goodreads. I did happen to notice that Mermaids in Paradise, which was my first draw from my bowl, is a 2.84. It's the second lowest rated on my Goodreads to read list. So that's interesting. All right, next up, we're looking for a red cover, and then I'm just gonna scroll. Let's see. All right, One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This. That's an option that is mostly red. Let's see, Chain of Ideas: The Origins of Our Authoritarian Age by Ibram X. Kendi. Freedom is a Constant Struggle by Angela Y. Davis. And let's see, How to Write an Autobiographical Novel by Alexander Chee. Asking for It: The Alarming Rise of Rape Culture and What We Can Do About It by Kate Harding, one of my favorite bloggers from back in the day, when blogging was still a thing. Ghost Boys, okay, we'll take that one. That's by Jewel Parker Rhodes. It's a YA middle grade, one or the other. All right, so I'm looking at One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This, chronicles the deep fracture which has occurred for Black, Brown, and Indigenous Americans, as well as the upcoming generation, many of whom had clung to a thread of faith in Western ideals, and the idea that their countries, or the countries of their adoption, actually attempted to live up to the values they espouse. This book is a reckoning with what it means to live in the West and what it means to live in a world run by a small group of countries, America, the UK, France, and Germany. It will be the fire next time for a generation that understands we're undergoing a shift in the so-called rules-based order, a generation that understands the West can no longer be trusted to police and guide the world or its own cities and campuses. And the author, I forgot to mention the author, Omar El-Akkad. This book is his heartsick breakup letter with the West. That one's going to be really hard to read, I'm guessing. But I think I'm going to go with that one. One day, everyone will have been against this. So that's my red cover book. And we did my lowest rated. So now I need a sports hobbies book and nature. Sports and hobbies, man. That one's rough. And nature. All right, I'm just gonna keep scrolling. I know this is fascinating watching me scroll on my computer when you can't see what's happening. But we're going to look for nature or sports. Here's a nature book. I Contain Multitudes, the Microbes Within Us, and a Grander View of Life by Ed Yong. So that's an option for nature. Here's a hobby book. Okay. Girly Drinks, A World History of Women and Alcohol by Mallory O'Meara, one of the hosts on the Reading Glasses podcast. Here's another nature option, which is The Golden Spruce, A True Story of Myth, Madness, and Greed by John Vaillant. John Vaillant is the same one who wrote several other books that I have read. The Tiger, True Story of Vengeance and Survival, about a tiger in Russia who was a man-eating tiger and kept eating hunters. It was really good, and I highly recommend it. And I thought I had read another one by him. Maybe I'm getting him mixed up with John Krakauer? Possibly? But he's also written recently, 2023, which is more recently than The Tiger or The Golden Spruce, either one, Fire Weather, A True Story from a Hotter World, about fires and the increasing incidence of major, massively destructive wildfires. So The Golden Spruce is a tale of obsession so fierce that a man kills the thing he loves most, the only giant golden spruce on Earth. John Vaillant takes us into the heart of North America's last great forest, where trees grow to 18 feet in diameter, sunlight never touches the ground, and the chainsaws are always at work. Something about a protest, logger turned activist. When a shattered kayak and camping gear are found on an uninhabited island, they reignite a mystery surrounding a shocking act of protest. 5 months earlier, logger turned activist Grant Hadwin had plunged naked into a river in British Columbia's Queen Charlotte Islands, towing a chainsaw. When his night's work was done, a unique Sitka spruce, 165 feet tall and covered with luminous golden needles, teetered on its stump. 2 days later, it fell. The tree, a fascinating puzzle to scientists, was sacred to the Haida, a fierce seafaring tribe based in the Queen Charlottes. Vaillant recounts the bloody history of the Haida and the early fur trade, and provides harrowing details of the logging industry, whose omnivorous violence would claim both Hadwin and the golden spruce. I Contain Multitudes, the Microbes Within Us, and a Grander View of Life by Ed Yong. Every animal, whether human, squid, or wasp, is home to millions of bacteria and other microbes. Many people think of microbes as germs to be eradicated, but those that live with us, the microbiome, build our bodies, protect our health, shape our identities, and grant us incredible abilities. In this astonishing book, Ed Yong takes us on a grand tour through our microbial partners and introduces us to the scientists on the front lines of discovery. I think I Contain Multitudes is going to be the one I go for this time for nature. And then we also still need a stinking sports hobbies book. We've got Girly Drinks. So that's one. Okay, here's Eat Up, Food, Appetite, and Eating What You Want by Ruby Tando, who is my favorite ever contestant from the Great British Bake Off. She is now a journalist and a writer. Here's another one. It's called Kosher Soul, The Faith and Food Journey of an African American Jew by Michael W. Twitty. Would drinking coffee be considered a hobby? Because I have legends and lattes. Okay, so I'm gonna go, well, for hobbies, it's between food, in Eat Up, Food, Appetite, and Eating What You Want by Ruby Tando, Kosher Soul, The Faith and Food Journey of an African American Jew by Michael W. Twitty, and Girly Drinks, A World History of Women and Alcohol by Mallory O'Meara. I mean, it's blurred by Amy Stewart, who wrote The Drunken Botanist, which I read years ago. At last, the feminist history of booze we've been waiting for. Strawberry daiquiris, skinny martinis, vodka sodas with lime. These are the cocktails that come in sleek stemmed glasses, bright colors, and fruity flavors. These are the girly drinks. When exactly did drinking become a gendered act? And why have bars long been considered places for men when without women they may not even exist? You know what? I'm doing it. I'm going with girly drinks for my sports hobbies book. So, I have a lot of nonfiction this month, don't I? Okay, so to recap, my draw from my bowl of physical TBRs was Mermaids in Paradise. And this I picked up, I'm pretty sure I got this at McKay's, because... yeah, I'm pretty sure it was at McKay's. It has a Golden Fig. Golden Fig Books is another independent bookstore here in the Triangle area where I live, which I've gotten books from there before myself. So let's see. It took me forever to find this on my shelf because the spine is red and there's hardly any red elsewhere on the cover. So let's see. Honeymooners Deb and Chip, our opinionated, skeptical narrator, and her cheerful jock husband, befriend a marine biologist who discovers mermaids in a coral reef. As a resort chain swoops in to exploit the shy creatures, the newlyweds unite with other adventurous vacationers to stop the company from turning the reef into a theme park. Okay. It's supposed to be funny, so that'll be good. Looking forward to that. The other pull items we got were Grace and Henry's Holiday Movie Marathon. Again, I got this from Aardvark. The new year had barely begun when Grace White and Henry Adler both lost their spouses. Now, nearly a year later, the first holiday season since their great and terrible sadnesses approaches. Although their mothers scheme to matchmake the two surviving spouses, it's clear that neither is ready to date again. Yet, no one understands what they are going through better than each other, and a delicate friendship is born. When Henry sees an ad for a Christmas movie marathon, once an annual tradition for him and his wife, Grace offers to watch some films with him despite her aversion to a few of his picks. Her two young kids, Ian and Bella, also join in whenever possible, bedtimes permitting, of course. Okay, all right, I'm down with this. I think this will be a more lighthearted pick, so probably still dealing with, like, you know, spouse death and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm looking forward to reading that one. And then I also pulled Guillotine by Eduardo C. Corral. Found this one. This one was on my kitchen table, or my dining room table. Corral is the son of Mexican immigrants. Oh, he teaches the MFA program He teaches in the MFA program in creative writing at North Carolina State University. Yeah, so I flipped through this, and I think I'll be able to read it in a couple of days, given that I read a book of poetry a day every day in August most years. I think this will be not a problem. Anyway, looking forward to some poetry this month. And then finally, I pulled Her Fearful Symmetry by Audrey Niffenegger. The novel opens with a letter that alters the fate of every character. Julia and Valentina Poole are semi-normal American 20-year-olds with seemingly little interest in college or finding jobs. Their attachment to one another is intense. One morning, the mailman delivers a thick envelope to their house in the suburbs of Chicago. From a London solicitor, the enclosed letter informs Valentina and Julia that their English aunt, Elspeth Noblin, who they never knew, has died of cancer and left them her London apartment. There are 2 conditions to this inheritance: that they live in it for a year before they sell it, and that their parents are not to enter it. Julia and Valentina are twins, so were the estranged Elspeth and Edie, their mother. So they move into the flat, come to know the residents of the building, and they discover that much is still alive in Highgate, including perhaps their aunt. And then to sum up, the other books that I'm reading is Girly Drinks, A World History of Women and Alcohol by Mallory O'Meara, which is my pick for hobbies or sports. I Contain Multitudes, The Microbes Within Us, and a Grander View of Life by Ed Yong, which is my nature pick. And then my, lowest rated was Death Takes Me by Cristina Rivera Garza. And the red cover is One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This by Omar El Akkad. So I'm looking forward to this. This is a great span of books. Like, there's a lot of variation here. I have a lot of nonfiction. I have some poetry. I have enough fiction to keep me interested. I have a lot of physical books. I didn't expect that, but that's okay. I'm going to go start reading because I have 8 books to get through this month. And I have a lot of travel coming up. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.